I don't think it will shock anyone when I say the Halloween timeline is a bit messy. Not nearly as bad as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, that series is its own beast, but Halloween has had more than one timeline switch and countless contradictions to itself even in the same timeline. I'm not going to get into that can of worms today, but I am going to give you a brief rundown on the three main timelines. The original timeline, including the first movie and 4th through 6th, the H2O timeline, which ignores everything but the first two movies and includes H2O and Resurrection, and finally, the reboot timeline, which forgets everything and is only Rob Zombie's 2007 remake and its 2009 sequel. After the community felt burned by the Rob Zombie films, the series was dormant for a while, almost a decade actually, until Blumhouse acquired the rights to a 3-picture deal in 2016. They decided to make a 4th Halloween timeline and completely forget all the movies except the first one. As confusing as this constant timeline switching is, we might not even be done with it. There are talks going around right now about which studio is going to get Michael Myers rights now that the Blumhouse deal is over, which means quite possibly there is going to be a 5th timeline, and it seems like A24 is in the lead right now for TV rights. But whoever gets those movie rights does not have an easy job ahead of them. Okay, I'm from the future here, and I'm literally recording this mid-edit because we actually have some updates on this Halloween deal. Miramax has actually won the TV rights for Halloween, and apparently they plan to do a cinematic universe because now they own the TV rights and they already co-own the movie rights. They helped produce the Blumhouse films and previous ones too. So that's what's going on now, and it's kind of wild. I have no idea what exactly is going to happen, but a Michael Myers cinematic universe is interesting. Okay, now back to past me. While I think it would be fun to dive into the original timeline Michael Myers, I've decided to leave that for another video. I am much more interested right now in the newest timeline, which includes the 1978 original and immediately followed by what I call the Blumhouse trilogy: Halloween, Halloween Kills, and Halloween Ends. This new version of Michael Myers gave us what I think is the scariest version of the character, second only to Tyler Mane in Rob Zombie's remake. James Jude Courtney did a wonderful job keeping the elements of the original that we all like and adding a more brutal spin on it. He and Tyler Mane are hands down my favorite Michael Myers actors, and I would 100% be dead if I ever had to face either of them. While I am talking about things I like, let's get this out of the way. The Michael Myers mask hasn't looked this good since OG. As well as the Rob Zombie mask worked in those movies, this one is just a treat to look at, and it was created with painstaking care, affection, and attention to detail by effects artist Christopher Nelson and Vincent Van Dyke, and their work pays off greatly. After a 9-year hiatus, this new Halloween had to be something special. Not only did it need to please fans, but the studio was also hoping to bring new fans in. Halloween 2018 came out at the perfect time for me. I was 2 years into my recent obsession with horror and was actively consuming as many horror movies as I could get my hands on. After eluding me for the first year of my horror mania, I was able to catch a Halloween marathon on AMC during Fear Fest. I cannot describe in words the first time I watched the original movie and just how much anxiety John Carpenter's score gave me. Every time I heard Michael's theme, I was tense. This movie did to me what a lot of movies weren't able to do at that point: make me legitimately scared. I've held on to that experience to this day, and I will always love the original Halloween to my core. These sequels, on the other hand, never captured this magic again. I think Halloween 2 is a good movie, and H2O was mostly enjoyable, but in 2017, after binging all 9 of the Myers Halloween movies, I was bored of the character. He wasn't scary anymore, and his moveset was incredibly limited, meaning all the kills were just stabs with a knife. There are a couple notable exceptions, but let's just say when 2018 Halloween was announced, I was both excited and worried. I didn't want this to be another boring Myers movie with uninteresting characters or straight up character betrayals like so many Halloweens of the past. Thankfully, what we got was a fast-paced, interesting, and still faithful Halloween movie with plenty of its own identity while still feeling like a continuation of the OG film. 2018 was followed by 2 sequels, both more divisive than 2018, but in my opinion, all 3 of these are excellent Michael Myers movies. The only negative might be the whole Mr. Tovoli thing that happens in Kills. That just makes me mad. But besides that, these are great movies, and this is probably the best resolution for the Laurie Strode character. This lore breakdown is diving in to the Blumhouse era of Michael Myers. First, let's establish who Michael is. Michael Myers is a man who is purely and simply evil. A very accomplished serial killer, Michael likes to do his killings with a chef's knife while wearing a white, emotionless mask accompanied by a pair of denim coveralls. He stands at 6 foot 3 inches. I am getting this height based on Michael Myers actor James Jude Courtney, but in the original, Michael was played by Nick Castle, who was 5'10". I'm going to use James Jude Courtney's height because that's the primary Michael actor in this timeline and the one we care about most for this video. Since Since this timeline starts from the original movie, that's also where we're gonna start. From the beginning, Michael Myers was not a normal kid. On Halloween night in 1963, at only 6 years old, Michael killed his sister Judith Myers with a kitchen knife. This was his first kill and was definitely not his last. Michael seems distant while performing this act, shown to us visually by having our view obfuscated by a clown mask. Even after the mask is removed by his parents, he shows no visible emotion to the horrific act he just committed. And even his doctor, Sam Loomis, says he can see evil within him.
I realized that what was living behind that boy's eyes was purely and simply evil.
Michael was sent to Smith's Grove Sanitarium, but unfortunately for the town of Haddonfield, that's not where he would stay. 15 years later, on October 30th, 1978, Sam Loomis and nurse Marion Chambers were supposed to escort him to a court hearing. Michael used this opportunity to hijack Marion's car and drive himself out of Smith's Grove. He made a pit stop to murder and steal this poor guy's clothes and also rob a hardware store for knives, a mask, and some rope. Michael spent the next day stalking 17-year-old Laurie Strode and on Halloween night killed her friends Annie Brackett, Bob, Linda, then attempted to kill her. It took a stab through the neck with a knitting needle, a stab in the eye with a coat hanger, a stab in the stomach with Michael's own knife, and 6 shots from Loomis's gun, but finally, Laurie was safe, even though
you can't kill the boogeyman.
And this would be right, because Michael didn't die. Somehow, all this damage he sustained was not enough to kill him. He got right back up and began his desperate escape attempt. Even though it was looking good for a while, Michael Myers was unable to avoid police capture, but did avoid being executed by Loomis when Officer Hawkins stepped in. Michael was locked up and spent the next 40 years of his life in Smith's Grove. On October 30th, 2018, 2 true crime podcasters,
investigative
journalists, Aaron Corey and Dana Haynes visited Michael and tempted him with his old mask. I believe this sparked something in Michael, maybe giving him the push to escape during his transfer and go on another killing spree. Yeah, Michael was to be transferred that night to a new facility. While en route, the transport bus crashed. It's unknown exactly how this happened, but there are a few theories. Number 1 is that Michael himself caused the bus crash by attacking the driver. Number 2, and in my opinion, the more likely cause was by Dr. Sartain, Michael's new doctor who has an unhealthy fixation on Michael's killing ways.
I want to know what he's feeling. I want to know what pleasure he gets out of killing.
He expressed envy over Loomis being able to see Michael in the wild before, and since he was so adamant on riding in the bus, there is a lot of evidence that points to Sartain being the bus crasher. And theory number 3 is that it was Laurie Strode. We see her watching the bus leave, and we know she dreamed about Michael escaping.
You know that I pray every night that he would escape.
What the hell do you do that for?
So I can kill him.
And when the bus crash was reported on the news, Laurie didn't seem shocked or even bothered at all, almost like she already knew, because maybe she did it. But I have a hard time believing Laurie would go this far to kill Michael. She's an obsessed nutcase for sure, but given how much she cares about her daughter and granddaughter, I cannot bring myself to believe she would put them in this much danger. Plus, she doesn't begin to lock down her house and warn Karen until after the news report. If Laurie had just crashed the bus to free Michael Myers, don't you think she would have been more like this?
The bus crashed.
What?
Look, I have a plan. Where's Allison? We need to get out of here now.
And less like this.
Right?
Yeah, it went. Hey, Mom.
That's mine.
I thought you quit drinking.
Sorry.
Mom.
You stop this.
If Laurie knew danger was coming, I am positive she would have geared up and started putting her Kill Michael plan into action immediately. Not wait until the next morning before even telling her daughter she's in danger. Okay, rant aside, let's get back on track. Michael's escape from custody would net him a few more kills. This random cop, this kid's dad, and lastly, the kid himself. Technically, we don't know for sure that Michael is responsible for either of these 2 deaths. The dad is more than likely, none of the other inmates seem particularly violent, but the cop is a bit less clear. It's possible his injuries were caused by the crash itself, but given his fear and telling the kid to run, I'm going to assume he was attacked by Michael. So, I'm gonna give these 2 kills to the big guy. On Halloween the next day, Michael would follow the two podcasters from yesterday to a gas station / mechanic shop. There, he killed a mechanic and robbed him of his clothes, then killed this random worker and robbed him of his teeth. Guess he can cancel that 6-month cleaning. Because these two podcasters straight suck, he killed them. First Aaron, then Dana. Now that they were gone, Michael was free to retrieve his mask from the night of his first killing spree. And now fully complete, the shape was ready for another one. Once night hit, Michael wandered the streets, first killing this old lady with a hammer, then taking a more suitable weapon for his needs. He broke into another woman's home and stabbed her through the neck. Since Michael just can't get enough of breaking and entering, he finds another home and hides in the closet for a jump scare and another kill, Vicky. Vicky's boyfriend Dave tried to help his girlfriend, but he didn't fare too well, ending up as Corey Woldecor. After this kill, Michael would see his old obsession for the first time in 40 years. Michael's next victim was Laurie's granddaughter Allison's boyfriend's best friend, Oscar. Wow, that was a mouthful. In a solid scene of tension, Michael killed the poor idiot and unwittingly caught the attention of Allison. This is where they would meet for the first time. Now that Michael has made his presence known in Haddonfield, cops are looking all over for him. Officer Hawkins and Dr. Sartain would be the ones to find him. Fortunately for Michael, and unfortunately for Hawkins, Sartain is revealed to be a truly despicable guy, attempting to murder Hawkins with a stab in the neck. Michael is loaded up into the back of the car, and Sartain drives them to Laurie's house with a very scared Allison in the back. When Michael comes to, he wastes no time killing Sartain, and then these two cops out on watch. Michael makes his way to Laurie's house, where the two would have their second showdown. After losing a few fingers and Laurie's position, Michael is shot in the neck, stabbed in the shoulder, and locked in a basement trap. The whole thing gets set on fire, and now Michael gets to watch not only Laurie escape him again, but two new would-be corpses as well. Michael takes shelter in the gun locker in the basement. When the fire department shows up to put the fire out, he kills two firemen and climbs out of his almost grave. He ruthlessly and awesomely kills all the first responding firemen. I counted 9 based on this shot here and a line later on.
11 dead bodies, they're all first responders.
11 first responders would probably include these two cops. Not Ray though, since he was stuffed into a closet and most likely burned to ash. Michael made his way back to town on foot and broke into another house. He killed Phil and stabbed his wife Sandra inside, before moseying down to the park to peep on some truly garbage kids. He only managed to kill one, unfortunately, because he got distracted with a car full of fresh bodies that were much too alive for his liking. Marcus, Vanessa, and Marion Chambers were all killed. Finally, Michael made it to his destination, his childhood home where he used to pass the time by staring out his sister's bedroom window at his own reflection. He killed the new residents, Big John and Little John, before Lonnie Elam, his son Cameron, and Allison showed up in an attempt to kill him. Unsurprisingly, both Lonnie and Cameron would end up dead, with Allison only surviving thanks to her mom Karen, who lured Michael to the next street over with his own mask. There, Michael was jumped by the town of Haddonfield. They beat him mercilessly and even got some shots in him, but Michael is no longer a man. We're told in voiceover that the more he kills, the more he transcends into, I don't know, just a raw, evil killing machine. This is where the human idea of Michael Myers is erased in this timeline. It inevitably happens in every timeline, and it's weird in every single one. Michael picks himself back up and proceeds to kill the entire mob, which includes Lee Brackett, Tommy Doyle, and a full 11 other people. Karen had gone back to the Myers house at this point to care for her daughter. She kinda randomly goes into Judith's old bedroom to just look out the window for no reason, when Michael does a little murdery peekaboo. Now on the run from an entire town, Michael slips into the shadows and finds shelter in the sewers. He remained down there for 4 years, incredibly weak from both the beatdown and the lack of murdering people. Until one day, a young man named Corey Cunningham found himself half-conscious in front of Mikey's sewer entrance. He dragged him inside for a little extracurricular homicide. But while strangling Corey, Michael looks into his eyes and sees the time Corey killed a kid and the bully harassment that landed him in front of Mikey. What the? Weird magic stuff aside, Michael lets Corey go and presumably transfers some of his evil into him. Halloween Ends is a weird movie, with some weird connotations about the shape and his psychopathy. It's actually what I love about the movie, but it does make it hard to pinpoint exactly what or how Michael is, which is kind of the whole point of this video. Corey leads a real dick of a cop to Michael in his sewer, and the both of them team up to kill the douche nozzle. This kill fueled Michael, or something, I don't really know, but the cop's death gave him enough strength attempt to leave the sewer, presumably for the first time in 4 years. Since Mikey can never just stop at one, he breaks into another house and kills Nurse Deb. On Halloween, Corey pays Michael a sewer visit. Oh, that's nice. And wrestles him to the ground to steal his mask. That's not nice. Since that mask is like a security blanket for the Mikester, he tracks down Corey to Laurie's house and breaks his neck, taking his mask back just in time for Mikey-Laurie showdown number 3. This bout doesn't end up too well for Michael. He ends up in crucifixion position on the kitchen island with a whole refrigerator on top of him. He gets stabbed a few times, then Laurie cuts his throat. His arm gets wrecked by Allison, then his wrist is slit. Michael's probably dead here, but just for good measure, the entire town escorts his body to the scrapyard and Laurie pushes him into a car shredder. The end of the Haddonfield boogeyman. Michael killed 58 people in total with a small variety of weapons. A hammer, a rubber mallet, a Halligan bar, a rotary saw, and technically a gun, even though he didn't pull the trigger. It's fun seeing Michael use a bit more than just his standard chef's knife, but we still get plenty of knife action too. Michael sustained a ton of damage in this timeline, so what the heck. Let's go over every major injury this Michael gets. He was stabbed 13 times, one of which blinded him in the left eye, shot 14 times, one of which left him with only 3 fingers on his left hand. He was also hit by a car, beat down by an entire mob, and crushed by a fridge. His throat and wrist were cut open, and finally, he was shredded. The sheer amount of shots and stabs this Michael took is borderline hilarious. He definitely deserved it though, cause we also have to put 2 good boys on our homicide tally. Michael Myers murdered 2 dogs and ate one of them. I hope he's rotting in hell, that bastard. And I'll leave off this video with a fun fact. Out of his 65 years being alive, Michael only spent 10 years and 1 day not in custody. In fact, all 58 of his kills happened in like 5 days over those 65 years. 10 years free and he only spent 5 days murdering people? Kinda wild, kinda disappointing. Anyway, that's it for the Blumhouse Michael Myers lore breakdown. Sometime in the future, I hope to make a lore breakdown on this timeline's Laurie Strode. And please, let me know if you like the formatting of this video or if you preferred the other lore breakdowns. I'm very curious to see what you guys think. Okay, see you in a bit.